Om Shanti. I welcome you to this session on the power of now. We are conducting this session on the International Day of Yoga, and through this session I want to arrive at a way in which we break this cycle of chaos and disorder that is currently consuming this whole world. We are going through difficult times these days, and I want to talk about the power of now. What can we do now so that we can create a different reality for ourselves? Einstein said that everything is energy. Energy, that is all that there is. There is nothing else. And if I can match my frequency to the frequency of the reality that I want, then I will get that reality. And this is not philosophy, it is physics. So if everything is energy and we have the potential to match our frequency with the frequency of the reality that we want, then what is stopping us from creating that? And why are we suffering so much when within ourselves we hold the secret to a better world? When we have the potential to create a different reality, why are we suffering from the reality that is currently there? So today we will talk about these things, and in doing so, in finding a pathway to creating a different reality, we will talk about how to connect with the highest potential in my own inner being and the highest power that exists, which we call the Supreme Being. In order that I connect with myself, that is my highest latent potential, and with the highest energy, highest being that exists, we will understand the process of how to do that. And we will also understand why we are not doing that currently. So basically, I will talk about yoga, which means connection with the latent potential in me, connection with the highest on high, the Supreme Being. And then when I raise my frequency by connecting with the highest place within myself and with the highest energy there is outside of me, then when I raise my frequency in this manner, then my frequency starts attracting or creating a different reality which matches it. And this is how we end up creating a new world through a new consciousness. So today we will talk about how to step out of our current consciousness, and about how this current consciousness is created and how do we break this cycle, and also about how to step into the new consciousness and how that would lead to a new reality. So this is all about today's session. So first I will talk about the word now. So when you hear the word now, what does it bring to your mind? So some people think about now as these times, which is maybe a month long or an year long or a decade long. So people use this expression nowadays, this happens and that happens. But when I am talking about the power of now, I'm not talking about a decade long now or a month long now or a week long now. I'm talking about now, as in this very second. And And what is the power of this very second? So this very second, I have the potential to switch my consciousness and vibrate at a different frequency. I want you to see yourself as a being, as an energy of the being, an energy of thought, an energy of word, and an energy of action. Who I am is an energy, what I think is an energy, whatever I speak is an energy, and whatever I do is an energy. And when I say who I am is an energy, it means that my consciousness, which is a byproduct of my inner, of how I feel on the inside, or how I function or how I be on the inside, that creates a vibration. And just by being who I am affecting the atmosphere around me. Have you ever seen that when a confident person walks into a room, he exudes an air of confidence? When a person who is fearful walks into a room, then everybody starts checking whether there is any reason to feel fearful at this point of time. So whatever I'm holding in my being, and sometimes, when people are who they are and you ask them, why don't you stop thinking the way you are thinking? They say, but I'm not thinking anything. I am just like this. So this is how we become or how we be when we sustain a pattern of thought or a pattern of feelings for a long time. So who we are, what we exude in the form of vibrations, even without consciously noticing it, is energy. And then whatever we think, consciously or unconsciously, whether as a reaction or as a proactive action, that is an energy. Whatever we speak, again consciously or unconsciously. Some people say, oh, I didn't notice I was talking too much. But then even if you didn't notice, you talked too much. And that created the atmosphere that it created. So when we are, when we think, and whenever we speak, and whenever we do something, that is an energy. And that is our contribution to the creation of our immediate atmosphere. And it is said, when you move one finger, you affect the movement of the whole universe, which precisely means that whatever I do in the small ambit of my atmosphere, for example, if I'm sitting here and talking something or thinking something, the effect of this is not limited to my immediate atmosphere or my room or the place where I live in, that is the whole area or the house, but it has an effect on the whole universe. Now you may think, how I'm such a small being and how do I matter? So you must understand that you are a quantum of the universe. You are one piece of the universe. And just like, when there is a wall and you remove one brick from it, the whole wall will collapse, because one brick is not one brick, it's a part of the wall. Similarly, I am a quantum of this universe. So I am a piece or a part of this universe. And whatever I do has an effect on the whole universe. So in one sense, I'm very tiny, but in another sense, I'm very powerful, because whatever I do has an effect on everything around me. So when I move a finger, that could be a finger of being, a finger of thought, a finger of word, or a finger of action. When I move a finger, I move the stars, which is I move the collective destiny in which we are all moving. So we need to be very conscious and careful about who I am, what am I thinking, what am I feeling, what am I speaking, and what am I doing. And when is all this possible? It is only possible in the now. So you are right now, you think right now, you speak right now, and you act right now. Life is 1 second long. So whatever power we have is just in the now. And when we talk about life as 60 years long or 100 years long, what we mean is it's a collection of 1 second at a time multiplied by whatever number it takes to create 60 years. So all that we ever have is just the now. And now I want you to think, how many times are you present in the now? Which means how many times do you actually grab the now? Because what I feel is we mostly miss the now. Now, in Greek philosophy, there is an expression of time, and it is called Kairos Time. And in that expression, it is shown that Kairos time is like a naked child with long hair who is running. And what you have to do is, you have to be very attentive to grab that child by the hair. And that is called making good use of Kairos time. So what it actually means is, this now is very fleeting. So when we talk about time as an opportunity, time as a creative opportunity, time as a power, then we need to grab it by the hair. So we need to just grab time. And if we are not very conscious in the moment, then time just runs away. So that's why people say that time went very fast and I was left behind, or time, I couldn't keep pace with time, or I couldn't match up with the times. So these expressions are often used. Or sometimes people say that time betrayed me. So these expressions are used because we have a relationship with time. And by that I mean that we have a relationship with how I use every second of the opportunity that life presents me with. So every second is an opportunity, and it is the only opportunity that we ever have. So who I am in the present moment, what I think in the present moment, what I speak in the present moment, and what I do in the present moment is what creates my destiny. And when I say we miss the present time or we miss the now, what I mean is we are mostly stuck in the past, or fearful about the future, or thinking about the other. Other could be people and situations. And when we are doing that, what we are doing is we are not grabbing the opportunity that this second is presenting to me. So, and I have often seen that even when I deliver lectures, what happens is when I'm talking about something, people are commenting about something else, or people are putting up a question which they had yesterday. But the thing is, if you are typing the question about something that I talked about yesterday, then you are not listening to what I'm saying today. And maybe I'm right now answering the question which you had in mind, but you're not listening, and you're just going on typing that question which came in your mind yesterday. And while you're doing that, you're missing out on the answer which I'm giving you right now. So this is what happens. We are so consumed by what happened yesterday. We are so worried about what will happen tomorrow. We are so worried about what's happening in other people's lives, or how they are suffering, or how they are enjoying, or how somebody is better off or worse off. Or we are so fixated with what's going on in the world that I don't take care to encash the opportunity that this moment is presenting me with. And this is the whole paradox that we are suffering with. So we are focusing all our attention on the past, future, and the other. And in doing so, we are missing out on the opportunity on the now. And another thing is, the law says wherever attention goes, energy flows, and that thing grows. So if I'm focusing all my attention on something that happened in the past and which I regret, or I don't like, or I'm sorry about, then I'm empowering that incident of the past, and I'm giving my energy to it, and I'm pulling it into the present and making it a part of my future, because our imagination is our preview to the future. So whatever I hold in my mind because of the power of attention fills my mind space, and that creates my future reality. So what I mean by this is, if I am right now remembering an incident from the past, then I'm investing my energy of thought and attention into that incident. And in doing so, I'm experiencing that incident right now, here. And that is creating my state of being and thinking and behavior. And when I do that in the present, I create a corresponding reality in the next moment based on how I'm vibrating in the now. So if I'm remembering something from the past which is not giving me happiness, or which is giving a feeling of regret or sorrow, then in doing so, I'm giving my energy to it and also ensuring that it becomes a part of my future. So I will give you an incident about this. And there is a sister who once told me that her father was very narcissistic, and her father treated her very badly and abused her a lot. So every time when she was growing up, she only kept thinking about how brutal her father was, and kept thinking that I don't want my husband to be like my father. Now the thing is, the mind doesn't understand don't want. So every time she thinks about I don't want somebody to be like my father, the mind is creating an image of the father. And then you are attracting that energy into the future. So it so happened that when she got married, her husband was an identical replication in personality of her father. And then when she understood this law of attraction, then she understood that because she kept thinking about the past and her father who was a part of the past, she attracted a corresponding reality of the same energy into the future, which is her present husband. So this is how it works. So when we are thinking about the past, we are actually making the past come into our future. So we must understand that everything that's happening is happening here, inside. And this is the place where all the creation is happening. So this is where I'm thinking, this is where I'm feeling. I create my thoughts and feelings in my inner world. And when I pay attention to some miserable or some sorrowful incident of the past, then I project it into my mind space. And my mind space creates thoughts and feelings. They become my vibration, and then I attract the reality that is corresponding to my present vibration. So if I want to create a beautiful reality tomorrow, I need to take charge of my mind space. Where is the past, where is the future, and where is the other? Are they there, or here? Where are they? They're not there, they're here. So your past is here, your future is here, the other is also here. They are not out there. So everything that's happening is happening here. And I have to choose what I want to project here and how I want to project it here. Because whatever I create here becomes my thought, my feeling, my vibration, and it manifests in word and action. And when it so happens, then this becomes the basis of the reality I will attract in the future. So this is why I need to understand that by thinking about the past, future, and the other, I'm missing out on the opportunity of the creative potential that lies hidden in the present moment. And also by doing that, I am bringing my past and spilling it into the future. Whatever fears I have of the future will become a reality because I'm playing it here. If I'm playing somebody's sadness or sorrow or misery here, they are also becoming part of my vibration, and I'm creating a future likewise. So this is what we need to understand. Now, an important aspect of what I'm trying to tell you is the past, future, and the other are what's going on here. And when something's going on here, then it's not about the physical reality, it's about our projection of the physical reality into our inner being. What do I mean by that? It means that there is something that happened in the past, there's something that I think might happen in the future, there is something that's happening in somebody else's life or manifesting in a certain situation outside. But I tell a story to myself about all of these events, and what goes on in here is not the event but my story about the event. There is a reason why history is called his story. If you break up history, it's his story. So there is nothing like neutral description. Everything that anyone thinks or feels is colored with their perception. So what I experience inside is not what happened, but it's my story of what happened. What I'm experiencing inside is not what's going to happen. It's my story about what might happen. What I'm experiencing inside is not what the other person is going through. It's my story of what the other person is going through. So when people think that I cannot change the reality, so if my past was bitter, then obviously I will have bitter memories, then you need to stop and think about whether actually something is bitter or good, or right or wrong, or is it the way you perceive it. So I want to give you an example which will make it clear about what I'm trying to tell you. So I once met this girl, very brave girl, and she is pursuing her medical degree. She's pursuing her MBBS. And when I asked her, she's a very brave girl, and I really liked her personality, and I asked her why she chose MBBS, and I was not up for that surprise, but she gave me a very good reason. And mostly people say that, okay, I was interested or I wanted to, so I did, but she had a concrete story behind it. And I happened to come to know that story by accident, but I will nevertheless share it with you. So that girl told me that when she was very young, probably 4.5 years of age, she had a rare cancer of the body. And in that rare condition, there was no surgery or no method which could relieve her of that cancer. And so she was suffering with that for about an year. And during that time, her mother, because she was not in a position to interpret what was going on in her life, so her mother used to tell her a story about what's going on. And her mother used to tell her, you're so fortunate and you are really a loved child of God, and that's why the doctors of the whole world are trying to find a cure for what you are going through. And you must be very grateful to God and the doctor fraternity, medical fraternity, for being so kind and coming together to find a cure for you. And because the whole world is praying and trying, you will soon be fine. And then you need to be grateful for all your life, because these people and God has been very kind to you. And although she was physically experiencing pain, this story kept her going. And then there was a cure which got discovered, and then she was treated and she came back home. But she experienced pain, but she didn't suffer, because suffering is about what we think in that situation, and pain is physical. So she was experiencing pain in the body, but she was not suffering, because in her mind she was creating these thoughts of gratitude and of happiness and of good fortune. She was really feeling fortunate, and she was feeling very grateful to every doctor that was trying to help her. So because of this condition, she was experiencing pain, but she didn't suffer. And because she didn't suffer, that gratitude stayed with her, because that was part of her inner world. The pain came and went, because every physical thing will come and go, it changes. But the gratitude and the feeling that I'm very fortunate stayed, because whatever you think and feel for some time becomes part of your attitude and personality. So thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to attitude, attitude leads to action, and action leads to personality. So because she repeatedly thought about how fortunate I am and how grateful I am, so this became part of her personality. And when she grew up, she chose to be a doctor as a way to thank all those who helped her in those times. So this was a really nice story that she told me, and she looked very happy. And I asked her whether she had any trauma about what she experienced as a child, and she said, no, I have none. And I only have good memories about that time, because the nurses who used to come to me used to smile and give me some sweets and chocolates, and then they used to tell me that you will soon be fine, and they used to tell me that I'm chirpy and I'm loving, and that I create an atmosphere in the hospital. So even the days I spent in the hospital are very memorable, and I have very sweet memories of those days. So when she shared this experience with me, it made me think that it's not about what's going on, it's about how I perceive what's going on. And many a times our perception is colored by the perception of people around me. Just like in the case of that child, her perception was colored by her mother. So she was very fortunate that she had a mother who could give her that story which changed her perception about the scenario. But even if I did not have that kind of people around me who could give me that perception at that time, right now I must see and recognize this truth that whatever I carry from the past is not about what happened, but it's about how I perceived it at that moment. Maybe under the influence of how other people around me were pursuing it, but nevertheless, it's not about what happened, it's about how I perceived it. And this is why, when we understand this phenomena, we understand that if I project that same perception, that scene which is colored by that perception onto my mind right now, then I'm attracting a reality which is corresponding to what I'm projecting right now. Now, this thing that I'm talking about now has to be paid attention to if we want to develop the art of developing a different perception towards our past. So, some minutes from now, I will give you the ways in which we can change our perception about what happened in the past. But what we need to understand right now is it's not the past, it's not what happened which is the problem. It's about how I perceived and how I memorized it at that moment. So I have recorded in my memory track my version of what happened at that time. And I don't need to get rid of the past, I just need to get rid of the bitter story I said about what happened. And when I get rid of my version of it, then everything would be fine. So this is something. Then fear. We think that something wrong is going to happen, and survey says that only 3% of all the things that we worry about and all the things that we are afraid of ever manifest. So 97% of whatever we worry about or fear about never happens. So where do these fears come from? These fears don't come from the gut. So these fears come from how I have perceived the past. So you need to understand a chain. And what is that chain? Things come and go, people come and go, situations change. This is the law of nature. The law of nature is everything is mutable or changeable. Nothing on the external world is designed to stay the same. But when something changes, we experience a sense of loss. Why? Because we are not living our life based on truth. The truth is everything has to come and go. But when in our day-to-day life, we don't take this reality into account, we create a sense of loss when something goes. And then when we create a sense of loss, we experience sadness. And when we experience sadness, we find somebody to blame for the sadness. And when we find somebody to blame for that sadness, in the process, I change that sadness into anger. And when I deal with that phase of anger, I enter into a phase of fear where I create this thought, oh, if it happened again. Now, if you see this whole chain, first loss, then sadness, then anger, then fear. All of these are unfounded because what happened was not loss. What happened was just what happened. But when I create loss, I create sadness. When I create sadness, I create anger because I want to find somebody to blame for that loss. And then when I create anger, it soon changes into fear because I don't want to experience that loss again. But the thing is, nothing is ever lost because whatever happens is designed that way. So in this whole scheme of things, Nothing is immutable. There is nothing that is designed to never change. But when we see change as a loss, then we give rise to fear. So, if in the past I have told myself stories about loss, if I have told myself that this happened and so I lost this and this happened and I experienced sadness, then consequently I have created this tendency of feeling fearful about future events. For example, if you bought something costly, something precious. For example, you bought a vase, investing 5,000 rupees in it. And then you just kept it on the table, and somebody was moving that table and that vase fell down. And then said, I lost 5,000 rupees just now and my investment has gone bad. Now you see, that vase was not meant to live forever. And that vase was meant to be broken at that time. So you have to understand that whatever happens is meant to be. So there is no way it could have happened otherwise. But because we don't accept this one thing, that everything is meant to be, we create a sense of loss. And then I feel sad, and then I search for that person who pushed the table, because I feel that person is to blame for this loss. And I create anger on that person. And when I'm angry, and then next time I see a vase in the supermarket, I have this thought, no, I'm not going to buy it. The last one fell down and I'm afraid this will also break. And I will again experience loss. So this is how we project the fear, the losses of the past as fears of the future. But if we understand one beautiful thing, that there are no losses and there are no reasons to worry or be fearful, because whatever was meant to be happened, whatever is meant to be will happen. And my creating a sense of loss or my creating a sense of fear is just my conditioning of how I'm trained to think in these circumstances. But actually there's no truth to it. And if I cultivate my inner world to experience everything differently, if I change my perception about what's going on, about what happened, about what's going to happen. Now, if I change my perception about what happened, then my perception about what's going to happen will automatically change. Because if I don't create a story of loss and sadness, there will be no story of fear. Now, if I tell you one beautiful thing, we have all read in physics and also in spirituality that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It only changes from one form to another. So anything that ever existed always exists. Nothing is ever lost. If you look at the deeper reality, no soul is ever lost, because souls are imperishable. No physical energy is ever lost. They only change form. But what we do is we attach ourselves to the present form of everything, and then we start telling ourselves these stories of loss and sadness, and then it sediments into our personality, and we create personalities which are based on these feelings of loss and sadness and anger and fear. So this is something that we do in our inner world, and an understanding of these processes is vital to changing them. Then about the other, how many seconds in a minute do I just miss out by focusing on the other? So we always tend to think that thinking about others is a very noble thing. So Many people are suffering right now in the situation of the coronavirus, and there are situations which people are going through, and then we sometimes feel it is our moral duty to feel the pain that other people are feeling and to grieve the loss that other people are experiencing. And yes, on a human level, empathy is a very good quality, but we must understand the truth about empathy. What is the truth about empathy? So, what we study in the Brahma Kumaris is don't be sensitive, be sensible. So, empathy is not about being sensitive, empathy is about being sensible. So, what do I mean by not being sensitive and being sensible? Now, one thing is, when you are watching a news about how somebody is suffering, and that news plays on in your mind space, and you bring their pain and play it here, then your vibration becomes that of pain. So you have not contributed to reducing their pain, but you have definitely contributed to increasing the intensity of pain in this whole universe by bringing their pain into your mind space and creating this vibration of pain in and around you. So you have created an atmosphere of pain and added to the collective pain of the universe. And building on the pain doesn't help. So, what is the true form of empathy? The true form of empathy is to help them come out of that pain. And how that happens? So, there are many ways in which we can do that. We can do that by helping them with words. We can do that by helping them with actions, or with financial support, or physical support, or emotional support. But we cannot help them by becoming sorrowful about their sorrow. So empathy is not about projecting their pain into my mind space and feeling that pain. Empathy is about creating an energy, doing an action, speaking a word that comforts their pain. So when we are watching news, when we are looking at situations around us, what we are doing is we are multiplying that pain and adding pain to pain. We are not doing some great service for humanity. We are rather crippling humanity by our unconscious action. So this is something that we need to bear on the mind. So what do we do instead? Now the whole day television is full of these things. Now what we need to do is we need to make ourselves capable to contribute differently. And how do we contribute differently? First, by detaching from their pain. So what we need to do is we need to focus on the good that's going on. So there are so many things that are happening right now. There are rivers flowing, there are mountains, there are birds chirping, there is clean air. There are so many acts of goodness and kindness being done in the world right now. There are so many people helping people who are in distress by working for them, by supplying medicines, by motivating them, by helping them financially, or even by just sitting and meditating and creating a vibration which is uplifting in nature. Especially in the Brahma Kumaris, ever since this coronavirus situation came up, we have made it a practice to give extra hours of meditation and spreading the spiritual vibrations which are of an uplifting and healing nature, so that it balances the pain that's increasing in the universe. So there are many acts, many proactive actions that we can do in these times. There can be acts of thoughts, there can be acts of words, then there can be acts of deeds. But we have to first detach ourselves from our current way of operating. And when we detach ourselves from what is, we can create a new reality. So if you plug in to what is, you reinforce the what is. But if you plug in and you start thinking, speaking, and acting in accordance with what you wish to make it, which is you can envision a new reality and then align your thought, word, and action with that new reality, then you can create a new reality. So it is up to us to choose whether we want to focus on what is and reinforce it, or we want to focus on what we can make of it and create it. So this is what we need to do about the past, future, and the other. I will also talk about these things in more detail. But before that, I want to talk about one thing which is a big barrier in our realization of our fullest potential, and that is our self-image. How we perceive ourselves, who I think I am. So there is a perception of me about myself. So I think of myself in a certain way, and when I think of myself as less than who I am, then what I'm doing is I'm operating under potential. So most people think greater than who they are. So that is called, that usually people say that is ego, which is you are thinking of yourself as high and mighty. But when we even think about high and mighty, we are not thinking about our innate potential. It's always based on what we have and what we do. But in these times when what we have and what we do is getting challenged, most people are experiencing that attack on their ego also. But what I mean by perceiving the reality of who you are is not about thinking about you are high and mighty as in you are rich or politically influential or financially influential or physically powerful. I'm not talking about those aspects. I'm talking about the spiritual aspect. How competent you are in your mind about how peaceful you can be, how loveful you can be, how happy you can be, how powerful you are in the sense of how much can you take in, what is your power of acceptance, how much stable can you be in different situations. Now most people these days say that we need somebody to rescue us, I need somebody to help me. What is the government doing? What are the doctors doing? I need somebody to take care of this situation. I am feeling very fearful. I am feeling very anxious. I can't deal with my stress. I can't deal with my anxiety. So these are the kinds of conversation that people are engaging in right now. Now, if you keep telling yourself, I am very fearful, I am very anxious, I can't deal with my stress, I can't deal with my anxiety, this is how you are perceiving yourself. And then wherever attention goes, energy flows and that thing grows. So if you always bless yourself by saying I'm anxious, I'm anxious, I'm anxious, what will you become? You will become anxious, because the universe say so shall it be. Whenever you create a thought, you create a word, listen to that. The universe is responding by saying tathastu, or so shall it be. So when you say I'm anxious, the universe says tathastu, so you'll be anxious. So you must understand that when I create these self-limiting thoughts about myself, then this is a big hindrance in harnessing my full inner potential. Because if I say I am fearful, I am stressed, I am physically weak, I am emotionally weak, or I have low immunity, then the universe is responding with a tathastu. So you need to learn the act of having faith in yourself, having confidence in yourself, having belief in yourself. So there are four major aspects that need to be seen. First is the thoughts about the past, the story about the past, the fears about the future, the way in which we think about the other, and the story I tell myself about myself. Now, have you ever thought why you think about yourself in this manner? So this also comes from how people have perceived us. Now, for example, when you were born, you suffered some fever or something, and then people started telling you that this child is very weak and he takes to germs very easily and he catches infection very easily, and then this starts entering into you as a kind of programming about who you are. I will give you a very simple example. Once two children came with their mother to the center, and these two children, one was 6 years of age and another was 4 years of age. And the 6-year-old one was very confident. He sat upright, he listened to everything very attentively, and this 4-year one was running around and being mischievous. And so the 6-year-old came to me and said, "You please don't mind the activities of my younger brother. He's actually very little." So I smiled at him and I said, "Okay, he is little, and you?" He said, "No, I'm the bigger one." So now you see, we are not big or small, we are always bigger or smaller. So this is how the world works. So you are either less than or a greater than, and then nobody sees you for who you absolutely are. So in this world where there is a less than and a greater than always, then sometimes you are born first and you end up being the greater than, and then when you're born second, you are the less than, and then if you are in a female body, you are the less than type, and if you are in a male body, you are the greater than type, and then if your body is dark in color, then you are less than type, and if your body is fair in color, then you are the greater than type. So these are the ways in which people look at us with reference to our bodies and our gender and our age and our qualifications. And then if you studied in a school where you got only 70 marks but then you came first, then you're the first ranker even if you got 70 marks. And then if you studied in a school where you got 90 but you were the 10th ranker, then you are the 10th ranker. And then this sits in your subconscious mind as your perception of who you are. So even if you had 670 marks, you could still think of yourself as the first ranker, because that was your comparative reality. So we live in this world where everything is comparative and everything is colored by the perception of what is good and bad, right and wrong, less than and greater than. And these are the codes that human beings have designed in their own right. There is no spiritual truth to it. If I ask you, who said 2 is greater than 1? Is it some universal law? No, it's a human creation. and you say 2 is greater than 1, 1 is less than 2, and then black is less than white, and white is greater than black, and then tall is better, short is worse, and all of these things are something that we have created, and actually reality has no culture. So in reality, there is no greater than or less than or good or bad. So this sense of self that we are living with today is a byproduct of the circumstances in which we were raised, the consciousness of the people who were around us while we were growing up, and how they perceived us, and how those messages got entered into our subconscious mind, and we started looking through those filters, and we started perceiving ourselves like that. So you have to think about seeing yourself as an absolute, not as a greater than or a less than. And how we do that, we will come to. But these are the 4 areas that we want to think about. How do we perceive the past? How do we think about the future? How do we think about the other? And how do I think about myself? And if I am able to take care of these 4 things, then the way in which I think about who I am, who I belong to, what's going on, which is the past, future, and the other, if I put these things in the true perspective, then in doing so, I shift my consciousness. And when I shift my consciousness, my reality starts changing. So how do we shift this? So first, let's take, what do we do about the past? So as I hinted at, everything that happened was meant to happen that way. And there is no merit in analyzing why it happened, how it happened, and whether we could have done it differently. Because even if there is some merit in learning lessons, it's for the future. There is no way you could have stopped that event from happening that way. Because every event that happens is meant to happen that way. This is a universal law. And if you take this universal law into account, then you can put a full stop to all your thoughts about what happened in the last second. And when you understand that what happened was what was meant to be, then you can go on with the next second by exercising your power of now, right? And if you stay stuck in what happened in the last moment, you're missing out on the present moment. So what you need to do is, you need to put to rest all your nonsense about the last second. And it is said, don't cry over spilt milk. But what we do is, we keep crying over spilt milk. And in doing so, we lose on the opportunity which every second is presenting us. Please beware, the only power that you have is in the now. And the now is 1 second long. And once you miss it, it is gone. So if you are thinking about the last second in the present second, you are bringing that sadness into the present second, and you're missing on the potential that this present second is presenting you with. So you're missing on the opportunity, and you are building on the sadness or the loss of the past second. So it is very, very wise to put a full stop to the last second. And if there are any lessons to be learned, you learn them in a quick second and then put it to rest. and no lesson needs to be learned over 100 years. So you are not learning lessons by thinking about things that happened 10 years ago. So this is a very beautiful aspect of the ego, that whenever putting the past to rest comes in, people say no, but past is important for learning lessons. But if you had learnt the lesson from the past, you would have committed only one mistake until today. But you committed several mistakes because you never learnt from the past. So this is the reality, and let's not have the ego that we are learning from the past. You are not learning from the past by thinking about it for 2 years. You can learn from the past in 1 second. And if you have not learnt in that 1 second, you never learn. So leave the past to rest and just move on. So thinking that the past is what was meant to be and there is no other way that it could have happened, and put it to rest. And then about the future, create a thought that everything that's going to happen from right now is the best possible that could ever happen. Please repeat this with me. Everything that's going to happen from right now is the best possible that could ever happen to me. And how do I say this? Because now my destiny is in my hands. Because I have learned the power to exercise the full potential of the present second. And this present second is my link to the future. So if I can be the best, give the best, and do the best in the present second, nobody on earth can stop me from creating a great future. So now that my past, my fears, others, and my memories and my self-limiting beliefs do not have power over me, my future is in my complete power. And this is why this lecture can be, if you want it to be, it can be a very big turning point in your life, where you learn to put the past to rest. You learn to you deal with the thoughts about the others and situations. You learn to raise your self-beliefs about who you are and who you belong to. And in doing so, you create that consciousness, which is the only requirement to have a great future. So if you use this lecture for your advantage, then you can rightfully say that my future is going to be the best that is ever possible. So the past is what was meant to be, the future is the best that is ever possible. And about the others, what do you do about the others? So you radiate good wishes to them. So by being my best, I'm doing the best for others and the situations. I don't need to do for them in sorrow or in pain. I need to be my best and do my best. Only if you be, that is, you detach from their pain and be happy, be peaceful, can you do any good to them. Because any action that we perform carries an energy. So if you cook food in sorrow and feed the hungry, it will quench the hunger, but it will fill their heart with sorrow. So what good will it do anyway? So what you need to do is first be and then do. And to be, you have to detach. So the others and the situations will benefit as a byproduct of my being. So I don't need to think about their pain to fulfill my responsibility towards them. I need to be my best and do my best in order to fulfill my responsibility towards them. And about yourself. So how you rise above the self-limiting beliefs that you carry about yourself. So just finish all the less than and greater than ideas that you have about yourself and start thinking about yourself as an absolute energy, as a being of light, full in everything. So all those beliefs are in the periphery, and you start thinking about yourself as the core that is completely full and absolute. So I'm not a relative, I'm an absolute. I'm an absolute power, an absolute energy. I create thought, I create feeling, and I am. I'm worthy, I'm peaceful, I'm happy, I'm full, I'm contented, and I'm powerful. And just like you told yourself 1,000 times, I'm anxious, I'm no good, I'm a victim, I'm bad, and that became your reality. If you reinforce this truth to yourself that I am worthy, I am light, I am energy, I am very, very powerful, for several times, this becomes your new consciousness about yourself. And you need to dissociate your identity from your physical identity, your cultural identity, your social identity, religious, professional, and other identities. So, I'm not where I live, I'm not what I do, I'm not this body, I'm not limited by my race or culture, I'm not limited by my profession or designation, I'm absolute energy and I'm full in myself. That is why they say the most powerful word on earth is I am. And I am means I am powerful, I am full, I am complete. And when you come to this consciousness, then you start vibrating differently. And this is something that we need to practice about ourselves, because we have bought into those other messages for quite a long time. And it's not going to be a one-day job to just change our perception about ourselves. Every day we need to sit with ourselves in silence and reinforce these things that I am worthy, I am contented, I am full, I am beautiful, I am peaceful, I am a star, I am energy. I am not the body, I am not the role, I am not the profession, I am not what I have or what I do, I am not the culture I conform to, I am not the religion I practice. I am an absolute divine, peaceful, powerful energy. So this is the truth about who you are. And then there is another challenge. Who do I belong to? Because many people in the world today experience this sense of not belonging to anybody. So when they are in a group, so if you are part of a business fraternity, or you're part of a work fraternity or an office, or you're part of a society, or you're part of a family, and then you don't feel the sense of belonging, then it gives an idea to the person that maybe I'm not good enough, and that is why that person is not able to operate at his full potential. And it is said that love empowers. So when you experience this sense of belonging and love from somebody, then you feel confident and powerful. So who is it that I belong to? So you must know that you are absolute and you belong to the absolute supreme being. So that is God, and we all belong to that supreme being who is with me right at this moment. And just like a compass always points north, I need to always have this link of love with God. And this buddhi or this attention should always be oriented towards God. And I feel that I'm receiving His grace, His love, His purity, and that's becoming a part of me constantly. I'm filling in the fruits of His grace and absorbing them and coming to a place of power and confidence and radiating that to the whole universe. So, right now, when I was trying to seek a fulfillment and a sense of identity from everything external and a sense of belonging from people around me, this connection with the truth helps me to connect with my absolute identity and with the truth of who I actually belong to. And when I do that, then I shift from a beggar to a giver. So I don't look up to the world or people around me to fulfill me. Rather, I take care that I am operating in the awareness of my fullness, and I'm completely in link with that one above, the one who is almighty, the one who is all powerful, the one who is the ocean of love. And in this link of love, I'm so sustained and so nurtured by that one presence that I'm a force in this world, and I radiate that power which I fill in from the one above to every member around me and to the five elements around me. And when I talk about the power of now, the power of now lies in being at your highest potential, that is, being in the consciousness of who I really am and who I really belong to, thinking not about the past, not about the future, not about others or situations, but thinking about what you are doing now and where you are now in this highest consciousness. So it's not about doing something different. It's about doing the same things. You might be sweeping the floor, you might be doing the dishes, you might be cooking, you might be doing some office work. But being in the now, or the power of now, is about being in this consciousness of who I am. I'm this full entity, this absolute power with a link of love with the Almighty. And in this heightened state of consciousness, in this powerful state, when I do whatever I ordinarily do, it has a different energy. When I'm fully present and fully powerful in the moment, then everything I think, everything I speak, and everything I do may be ordinary in the external, but then it is creating a different vibration, because our vibration is created by who we are in the moment, and who we are colors what we think, what we speak, and what we do. So this is about harnessing the potential of now. And now let's meditate for some 5 minutes, and in this meditation I will give you a guided commentary about how to stabilize yourself in the true sense of who you are and in the true sense of who you belong to. And then you envision yourself doing every ordinary act in this extraordinary consciousness, and in doing so you are creating an atmosphere which is uplifting and recharging in nature. Let's meditate. Just sit still and for a few seconds move your consciousness from the here and now and take it to a different dimension. In this moment, the body is there, but you become aware of the energy that you are, the absolute being of light sitting in the center of the forehead. See yourself, the divine, blissful point of light, the pure star sitting in the center of the forehead. Forget the roof and the walls. You are in the open sky, on the globe, just you alone. You are the divine light, the child of the supreme light, the supreme being, and you are connected by this link of love. And the power of the supreme being is drawn into you in the form of a stream of light, of power. From the world above, the stream of light and might is entering you, and through you it is radiating to every element of nature and every soul on the planet. You have become a conduit, an instrument who is drawing into the energy of the Supreme and radiating it to every element and every soul around you. Even in doing the most ordinary acts of the day, getting up, washing, cleaning, driving, working in the office, this link of love is always intact. You are contributing by action, by words, but the being that you are in every moment, fully present in your highest worth and your highest vibration, is changing the atmosphere around you. Sit in this beautiful feeling for some time. Om Shanti.